Bay days of strategic silence. How the Stoics master their reactions. Be honest with yours for a second. It is barely sao, cum am. The alarm just went off. Before your feet even touch the floor, your hand reaches for your phone. Notifications hit your eyes right away. Work messages. Online drama. A nasty comment from some complete stranger. You scroll. You frown. You get pissed off. Then your fingers start flying across the screen. You explain. You defend. You try to prove that you are right. And just like that, it is over. Less than 11 minutes after waking up, you surrendered total control of your mental state to the outside world. A stranger can ruin your mood. A single notification can shatter your focus. A compliment sends you soaring. A piece of criticism ruins your entire day. You do not start your morning in the driver's seat, but in reactive mode. And the scary part is, you do not even realize you are doing it. You get to work, and the exact same script plays out. Hour-long meetings that could have been a quick email. Co-workers pulling you into office drama. Your phone keeps buzzing. Emails keep piling in. Social media keeps begging for your attention. Your mental energy gets torn into million pieces. You stay busy all day long. But when evening comes and you look back, you realize you did a whole lot of stuff, but accomplished nothing that actually mattered. Now let us be clear about something. Not every failure comes down to a lack of focus. Sometimes you fail because you lack the skill. Sometimes your strategy was wrong. Sometimes you lack resources. Sometimes circumstances are just stacked against you, and some things are simply out of your control. But your attention, the way you react, and how you spend your time, those are things you can actually train. That is where we need to start. There is even subtler trap, though. It is the habit of talking way too soon. Before you even start doing the work, you rush to tell everyone your plans. Before you build a single thing, you talk about the future like it already belongs to you. You say, I am going to hit the gym 6 days a week this month. I am about to launch a massive project. I am going to learn a new skill. I am going to completely change my life. Then you post it online. You get the likes, the congratulations, the comments. You got this. So proud of you. Keep it up. And for a few minutes, you feel like the exact person you want to become. This is where psychology drops a serious truth bomb on us. Studies on goal sharing show that when people recognize our identity-related intentions, we get an early feeling of already owning that identity. In plain terms, you get to enjoy the high of being a disciplined person before actually living like one. You have not run a single mile yet, but you are getting praised for planning to run. You have not written the book, but people view you as someone writing a book. You have not built the business, but in other people's eyes, you are an ambitious entrepreneur. And sometimes, that early validation kills your drive to prove it through real action. Not because your brain thinks you finished the job, but because you already cashed in on the social reward before doing the heavy lifting to actually become that person. That is why. Do not announce the person you are going to be. Start becoming that person, in silence. Think of your attention like water behind a dam. Every time you react to a pointless notification, a cheap provocation, an online comment, or the urge to prove you are right, you open another valve. Water keeps draining out. Your focus drops. By the end of the day, you might still have time, but you no longer have the mental sharpness for what actually matters. On the flip side, when you keep your attention guarded, when you do not react instantly, when you do not feel the need to explain everything, when you do not broadcast every plan to the world, you shut the valves. You save your mental energy for something far more valuable, action. And this is where Stoic philosophy becomes truly incredible. Picture this, winter of Mochambe AD, along the freezing Danube River, in the middle of brutal military campaigns for the Roman Empire. One of the most powerful men in the world is dealing with the situations almost entirely out of his control. War, plague, political pressure, border threats, and the weight of an entire empire sitting square on his shoulders. That man was Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius did not live in a peaceful world. He did not have the luxury of a quiet life. Far from it. He faced chaos most of us can only imagine. Yet in the middle of all that noise, he still found time to write down his personal thoughts. Today we know that work as meditations, The fascinating thing is, it was never written for an audience. It was a private conversation Marcus had with him, a tool to keep his judgment clear in a chaotic world. The core message throughout Meditations is simple. External events are not entirely in your control, but how you judge them and choose to respond is entirely up to you. Think about that. An emperor can command legions, but he can't order a plague to vanish. He can issue decrees, but he cannot control what people think. He can fight enemies, but he cannot force the world to bend to his will. So the first thing he had to master was not the empire outside, but self-control within. Now look at Epictetus. If Marcus Aurelius stood at the peak of power, Epictetus stood at the exact opposite end. He was born a slave. No status, no political power, zero say over his living conditions. An ancient story passed down in later texts says that while he was a slave, his master abused him so severely that it crippled his leg. But the historic accuracy of that story is not what matters. Because Epictetus did not build his philosophy on a story about his leg. He built it on a much deeper question: what is truly within my control? Epictetus taught his students to separate things that are up to us from things that are not. You cannot control what people think of you. You can't control whether someone likes you. You cannot control an insult. You cannot control the past. And you can't control what happens tomorrow. But you can train your judgment, your choices, your actions, and your reactions. Epictetus dropped a famous line: people are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of things. Imagine someone comments, "You are a total failure." The comment happened. You cannot turn back time to erase it, but there is a gap between those words and your response. In that gap, you have a choice. You can blow a fuse. You can jump into an argument. You can spend the whole evening obsessing over it, or you can pause. Evaluate whether there is any truth to it. If it is constructive, learn from it. If it is meaningless noise, let it slide. That is true autonomy. It is not about never being affected. It is about never letting outside noise automatically dictate your next move. And then there is Seneca. Seneca lived in one of the most cutthroat political arenas in ancient Rome. He served as an advisor to Nero. He knew firsthand the dangerous pull of anger, power, and impulsive reactions. In his work De Iron Anger, Seneca highlights a simple rule: the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Not denying your anger, not pretending you are not pissed off, just refusing to act while anger is driving the bus. Because there is a massive difference between "I am angry" and "I am going to act because I am angry." An emotion can exist without becoming an action. That is the skill we need to build. Notification pops up, react. Get criticized, react. Get insulted, react. See someone succeed, react. See a frustrating post, react. We live like every outside trigger has direct access to our brains. Stoicism says, create a gap, not to run away from life, but to give yours time to choose how you will face it. Bay days of strategic excellence, the experiment. Enough theory. It is time to turn philosophy into action. But let us be clear about one thing before we start. 7 days will not rewrite your entire psychological wiring. It will not turn you into a completely different person overnight. It will not guarantee that you will always control your emotions. 7 days is just an experiment, a short enough window for you to start observing yourself, to catch your automatic reflexes, and to practice building a small gap between the trigger and your response. If you want real change, you will need to keep going after these 7 days. Over the next 7 days, try these 4 rules. Power num seconds before reacting. When someone criticizes you, when a comment makes you angry, when an email makes you want to fire back a response immediately, do not react right away. Pause for num seconds. Take a breath and ask yourself, does this actually matter? If it's valuable feedback, listen to it. If it is useful information, adjust yours. If it is just cheap provocation, do not turn it into a war. You do not need to win every argument. Stop explaining yourself to everyone. You owe nobody an explanation for all your choices. Not everyone needs to get your plan. Not everyone needs to agree with your path. And, above all, you do not need to turn every critique into a courtroom trial where you prove you are right. But remember this: silence does not mean rejecting valid feedback. If someone points out a real flaw in your work, stay calm enough to listen. If you are wrong, fix it. If you lack skill, learn. If your strategy is flawed, pivot. If circumstances are the problem, adapt. But if someone is just baiting you, you do not have to engage. Maturity is not about winning every argument. It is knowing which arguments are not even worth your time. Switch to silenticution. For the next 7 days, try talking less about what you plan to do. Stop turning your goals into a performance. Stop constantly saying, "I going to," "I am about to," "I am getting ready to." Instead, just do it. Work out. Study. Write. Build. Fix your mistakes. And let the results do the talking. You do not have to hide everything from the world. Some goals need to be shared for accountability, teamwork, or support. What you want to avoid is turning your plans into a cheap ploy for validation. Do not announce your new identity. Build it with your actions. Rule born 9 minutes of evening reflection. Before going to sleep, put your phone down. Turn off the screen. Sit in silence for 9 minutes. And ask yourself, what hijacked my attention today? Where did I react instead of choosing? What did I say just to seek approval? How much time did I waste on things out of my control? What important thing did I ignore for something trivial? And finally, what will I do differently tomorrow? Do not turn reflection into self-punishment. The goal is not to convict yourself. The goal is to see yourself clearly, because you cannot master a reaction you do not even notice. After 7 days, the outside world might not change at all. Your phone will still buzz. People will still talk trash. The internet will still be noisy. Your boss might still push your buttons. Some people will still misunderstand you. You will still have days where you get mad, and you will still lose focus at times. That is completely normal, because the goal of these 7 days is not to turn you into a flawless robot. The goal is to help you catch the moments where you used to react on autopilot. The first time you realize you are about to get angry, that is progress. The first time you read a harsh comment and choose to think before replying, that is progress. The first time you keep a goal to yours instead of posting it for likes, that is progress. The first sit down and grind without anyone knowing, that too is progress. Real change does not have to start with a dramatic gesture. It can start with a tiny reaction you simply chose not to make. Silence is not always the answer. There are times you need to speak up. Times you must defend yourself. Times you must speak the truth. Times you must push back. Times you must take action. Stoicism does not teach you to become a muted spectator in life. It teaches you not to be a slave to your knee-jerk reactions. You do not stay silent out of fear. You stay silent when there is no need to speak. You do not avoid arguments out of weakness. You choose your battles when they actually matter. You do not stop sharing to hide away from the world. You stop seeking validation so you can focus on building the person you want to become. That is the difference. A sharp sword does not need to clash loudly to prove its edge. A person with real inner strength does not need the crowd to applaud to know they are on the right track. The world will always be noisy. People will praise you. People will criticize you. Things will constantly fight for your attention. You cannot control all of it. You cannot control your entire life either. But you can train yours on what is worthy of your attention, how you frame what is happening, and what actions are worth your time. Stop reacting to everything. Stop explaining yours to everyone. Stop chasing applause before you deliver results. Stop talking so much about who you want to be. Start becoming that person, quietly, patiently, 1 day at a time. The next 7 days are a guarantee that your life will suddenly transform. It is just an invitation, a small experiment, a chance to observe yourself. Because at the end of the day, you cannot control the whole world. You cannot control other people. You can't control every circumstance. You can't control outcomes. But you can always keep training how you pay attention, how you judge, and how you act when right in front of you. And maybe that is the truest kind of freedom there is. Tonight, when you set your phone down, what is the very first automatic reflex you want to take back control of tomorrow?